What's going on, guys? BigJerr, back with you guys again. And today, I wanted to talk a little bit about my finger drumming rack from the Stooped Fingers video. After people saw the video, a lot of questions came up like how I did it, and what were some of the techniques I used, how did I use the twister with the MIDI fighter, and today, I want to take you behind the scenes and show you exactly how I did all that. All right, let's get into it. So that was just a little clip. I'll put a link in the description for the full-on video, but I'm sure if you're here, you've probably already seen it. So now let's talk about how we made it. Now, you know, the first challenge that I want to talk about here is that we've only got 16 pads or buttons, okay? And they line up right here perfectly with the drum rack. So that's kind of the deal there. So the first thing that you want to think about is how you're going to load your rack. Okay, now I don't think this is going to be a lesson on exactly how I made the rack because I could do a whole session on that. Just let me know in the comments or somewhere that you want to see something like that. But the question I was asked is, you know, kind of how did I put it together? So let's take a quick overview of what's going on rather than how I made it. So the first thing you should think about is, you know, how you're going to set things up, like set your scene up, you know what I mean? So for me, I always set my scene up sort of the same, you know, every song's a little bit different, but this section right here, these buttons are going to usually always be for some type of my drums, right? So I got my kick there, got my hi-hats here, I've got a snare right there, and in this loadout, I've got a couple more kicks, and then that's just like a little bit of a vocal stab. So basically this section here is going to be my drums, okay? And then across the top, what I have is like my music, so to speak, right? So here I've got an arpeggiator, okay, another one, okay, I got a lead line, okay? So then over here we've got a little bit of drums into like a little bit of a fill sound. And then these are going to be some bass sounds, and this is going to go with this one here. Okay? Now, these bass sounds are going to live over in this area. But the interesting thing is, I'm going to switch modes on you. Okay? And this is one of the really cool things I did with the twister. So what do I even mean by switching modes? Well, let's take a look at this. So I'm going to go into my rack here. Okay? And I'm going to go into, for example, these bass sounds here, okay? So right now when I press this, and let's see if we can open up what's actually happening here. There we go. And you can see how I've got a few things loaded here on an instrument rack. So this is one cell inside of a drum rack, but what I actually did was I actually made a few layers here, right? So we're looking at this layer right down here, okay? So when I press this button here, check out what happens. Right, I'll try it again. Okay, and you can see right here how I'm actually turning these things on and off, okay? And I've done this with key mappings, okay? So if I hit Command M, I'm gonna open up these sides here, and I've got all of these key mappings here. I'm actually gonna make this session downloadable for you guys, so you could kind of check this out, you know, how I did it and whatnot. But yeah, so Command M takes me out of map mode, and I can map anything, and that's kind of the beauty of this twister, and that's kind of what I want to get into in a second. But right now, the first thing I was able to do was use these guys, and that's why I have them as blue, right? So I made these two blue ones more like modifier buttons than anything else. Again, so if I press this, it's almost like switching me from like pre-drop to drop. And then once I'm into the drop, I can hit this one. I get like a plus, you know what I mean? So I've actually got 3 different sounds out of this one button, which is pretty darn wicked. So the thing to know to make this happen is here in the MIDI fighter utility, it's got a lot of versatility here. The utility, versatility, all right, whatever. Anyway, so I'm gonna go to my encoder settings and let's just go to these guys right here, which are my blue ones, right? So what I've got is these are set to CC toggle, okay? Both of them are set to toggle. And that's exactly what they do. If I go back here and I hit this button, you can see how we're toggling back and forth in volumes here, okay? Just like I'll toggle back and forth in the in the what's actually playing, right? So that's actually pretty clever, right? I'm using volumes and mute buttons to get me the different layers. So that'll be our tip 1, right? We're going to have modifier buttons, and we're going to use CC toggle to make that happen. So as I was building this rack, you know, I really fell in love with this twister because it not only has, you know, spinnable knobs here, but it also has buttons, right? So I thought to myself, what if I could use these buttons to actually trigger cells, right? So check this out. Okay, so if I have actually got a lot of these doing like different jobs. So I've got a bunch of effects down here. Okay, I've got some bass sounds here. Okay, and
Stooped Fingers.
These guys are teal. They're going to be my vocals. And then I've got some drums right here. Okay, so I've actually tried to color these similar, so when I look down real quick, my eyes could be like, oh yeah, there it is. Same reason I colored these blue. Okay, so if we're looking over here now, let's check out these bottom row, okay? So these guys are purple, and if I go here, check this out, I've actually switched this to note hold. And I went for a hold because it actually, you know, if I play this here, I can see that right down here. It will actually only play while I'm holding it down. All of these guys. As soon as I let it up, it stops playing. So hold is kind of the one you want for those. And the same for these over here.
Stooped Fingers.
All of them are set to note hold too. So tip 2, you can go ahead into your MIDI Fighter utility and set some of these buttons as notes. Just like we set over here, some of them as toggle, we could set some of them as notes. So now this controller does multiple things, right? And it's customizable in the sense that I could put any of these different things anywhere I want, in the sense that I put these here as my modifier buttons, and then around it I've got scattered a bunch of sample ones too. Now there's 2 buttons left. There's my top corner button and my bottom corner button. And the reason I put them in the corner is because I would know that they were special and unique. This guy down here, we're gonna actually have to go over to my effects section here to actually see what's going on. So what I've actually done was, if you see here, I've routed this track not to the master, but to the effects track. And it's just being routed through here. So, you know, it's all being run through here. And here I've got a couple of effects, right? I've got 2 actually. And the one that we're going to talk about here is pitch drop. And if you have, you know, Ableton, then you've got Max for Live, and Max for Live offers you this pitch drop effect. So how did I set it up? First of all, let's see what it does. So if I have like a phrase playing, I can go ahead and hit this and watch what happens. Right? It's going to give me like a record stop. Okay? So it's set to do it in a quarter note, and it only happens when I press it down. Okay? Let's jump over to the utility. And let's see what we've got going on in the bottom corner. So the bottom corner is here. And again, I got a CC hold because I only want it to go on while it's being pressed. And then as soon as my finger comes off it, I want it to disengage. Okay? So back over here, now that we know how it's set, you see my finger's on it, fingers off it, it stops. So it's like a, okay, pretty wicked. Now the other button I have in the corner, or knob button, is set to fade to gray. And now this is, we all know fade to gray. It's a pretty popular effect, comes with Ableton Live. So what it does is it kind of takes your sound like away. Let's hear what I mean. Okay, so you see this is pretty cool. If you put them in order correctly, then you could use them in order. So like this is at the end, so it will take whatever delays are happening here and just kind of pitch it down. So it's wicked if you use them in the right order. You could actually take advantage of that. But I want to show you how I did one kind of cool thing that takes advantage of both the rotary and also the button aspect. Let's jump over to the MIDI Fighter utility. Okay, so now on this one, check this out. So obviously we've got the rotary to give us that kind of control, but then I set this one to reset encoder value. So look at what happens here when I jump back over. If I turn this up, you can see how it's controlling this, right? But then it doesn't matter where I am in this section. If I want it to just jump back, I'm going to go ahead and reset that guy right there. Boom, right? So this is going to take me up and then reset. So again, you know, you get this kind of cool delayed kind of thing. So it can get kind of messy up there at the top. Stop it anytime I want. Okay, so that's a pretty cool little trick there too. So tip 3 is using the reset value along with the encoder to take complete control now of your effects. And you don't have to have any bleed or anything like that. As soon as you want it to be done, it could be done. Think about the possibilities. This could be a kill switch for subs or basses or anything, right? This, like anything at all. So definitely take advantage of that. So that's pretty much my walkthrough of the Twister and how I took advantage of all the features. If you guys want to see a video on how I actually created the rack over here on the MIDI fighter, please let me know, or anything else you want to know about finger drumming or setting this up, or even finger drumming lessons, you guys let me know what I could do for you. Alright guys, well, I hope I turned you on to a couple of new tricks, couple of things maybe you weren't thinking about, and I hope I've inspired you all to start finger drumming a bit more. Alright, catch you on the next one.